Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is Carmina, Vedic astrologer and reader with the cards of truth. And today I thought we would talk a little bit about astrology. And even if you're more interested in the cards of truth, don't forget that the cards of truth software also uses the planets. So it's important to also know the basics about what the planets represent as well. Okay, so today I thought it would be interesting for us to be looking at the planets to see what they represent from the taste they are assigned. Because in Brihad Parashara Ora Shastra, there is also this sutra among many other sutras that describe the nature and character of the planets. There is this sutra that describes the taste of the planets. So each planet has a particular taste. So what does that mean exactly? Let me read you the sutra first. And before that, if you're into astrology or the cards of truth, like this book, Graha Sutras, which contains sutras from Brihad Parashara Ora Shastra, but also from Jataka Parijata, Yavana Jataka, and so many other sources, is very interesting to get you really acquainted with the fundamentals of the planets. I first read this book 2 years ago, and I recently reread it, and there's so many things that are so interesting to rediscover. So one of them is going to be the taste assigned to every planet. Okay, so the sutra goes like this. Pungent, salty, bitter, mixed, sweet, sour, and astringent are known, all the tastes from the sun, etc. in their order. So that's the sutra, right? From the sun in their order. What does that mean? When we talk about taste, we are just referring to the embodied planets. So just Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn, the 7 embodied planets. We're not talking about the nodes, because nodes are just points. They are not embodied planets. And when we talk about the taste, it's interesting that the taste associated to the planet is also saying a lot about the nature of the planet, and also what that planet is manifesting, is ruling within us. For instance, the sun is associated to the pungent taste, and pungent is not actually really a taste. It's just a sensation of heat that our cells feel when exposed to certain components. And the pungent taste, is felt like a hot taste. And the sun, of course, is a fiery planet. It has a pitta nature, so a hot nature. And it's no wonder that the taste associated with it is also hot. So as I was saying, pungent is not actually a taste per se, but more a reaction that is felt. And there are certain foods, certain spices that incite this pungent reaction. For instance, green onions or raw onions in general, spices like turmeric, like ginger, like radishes. These are healthy manifestations of the pungent taste. So it refers more to the intensity of the taste than the taste itself. And the ingredient that is felt as pungent is like sulfur based. Besides the food that I mentioned, there's also garlic, cloves, cayenne pepper, black pepper, thyme, peppercorns, and of course cumin and durian. If you're not familiar with durian, you should try it at least once in your lifetime because it will blow your mind. So since the sun rules the immune system, it makes sense that consuming some of these healthy condiments would help boost the immune system. However, garlic and onion are considered in Ayurvedic practice tamasic foods, so they should only be eaten in moderation, not even in moderation. They should be eaten sparingly and to fight bacteria, while the other condiments like ginger, cumin, cardamom, turmeric, wasabi, radish, horseradish, mustard seed, pepper, you can use that on a regular basis. So yeah, these are the foods associated with the sun's taste, which is pungent. And then we go to the second planet, to the moon. And the moon is of course connected to the salty taste. It's quite easy to understand why, since the moon is connected to ruling the ocean, which is salty. So that kind of makes sense, right? So the moon rules the urinary system and the circulatory system as well. So if you eat, for instance, celery or green leaves, or things that kelp or seaweed that naturally contain salt, this is beneficial for the moon, because as I was saying, moon in ancient Sanskrit text is also referred to as samudraka, which means oceanic or maritime or sea salt as well. So moon is tightly connected to the sea and to the saltiness in the sea as well. So consuming these celery, kelp, seaweed, that helps the circulatory and urinary system. But if you consume a lot of refined salt, that's really not helping your circulatory system. Okay, and let's see what the next planet rules. The next planet is Mars. And the word used in the sutra for Mars is actually tikta, which means spicy, but it can also mean bitter. So Mars relates to any bitter taste, like bitter herbs, but even cocoa, coffee, black tea. And at the same time, because it's spicy and it's fiery, Mars relates to chilies. So there's also another sutra where Parashara assigns like what type of plants are connected to each planet, where he says that bitter plants are assigned to Mars. So definitely Mars has this strong connection to the bitter taste, because Mars is also bitter like medicine, like when you have to take a medicine and it tastes bitter but you have to do it. That's like what Mars does when you have no other choice and you reach kind of the bottom. You have to swallow the bitter medicine or the bitter herbs. So the bitter green herbs can be consumed more readily. I'm thinking now, I think arugula is pretty bitter. It's also a bit spicy, so I think it's a pretty martial herb. However, cocoa, coffee and black tea, they shouldn't be consumed in excess, because they irritate the nervous system, because Mars rules the nervous system, and it would be too much of an overload for Mars. And the same with chili peppers. You know, when you eat like chili peppers, it's like, whoa, it's like a boost. But if you eat it every day, it's not going to be like that. So yes, Mars, bitter and spicy. So let's see the next planet. The next planet is Mercury. And the taste assigned to Mercury can be translated as mixed, which is misra in the sutra. So this can be translated as mixed or blended. And that's a very important trait of Mercury, because Mercury is always the planet that's like in the middle. It's in the middle of the other planets, you know, it's the fourth planet out of 7, so right there in the middle. It's a planet that's a neuter planet, so it's not feminine or masculine. It's a planet that is not dry and it's not wet, it's moist. So it always has this connotation of balance and symmetry and being in the middle, you know, and variety. Mercury definitely likes variety. So of course Mercury would be assigned the mixed taste. So this mixed taste can be translated as savory, like when you make a soup and you put all these vegetables in to get like a base, like a nice taste. So in more recent times, like in the 1900s, the umami taste was discovered by a Japanese chemist. So the umami taste is can be translated, this word umami can be translated as a pleasant savory taste. So it has been actually known for millennia. There were some fermented barley sauces that were used in ancient Arabic times, in the Byzantine Empire, and also in the ancient China. They were using fermented soy sauce and also fermented fish sauce. So, you know, this umami taste has been present, although not under this name, for a very, very long time. So it's no wonder that Parashara, an ancient, you know, Sanskrit text, refers to this mixed taste. So this flavor is felt when our taste bud encounters a certain amino acid. So this umami has a mild but lasting aftertaste, and by itself it's not really tasted, but you know, in combination, in the presence of a matching aroma, it makes it really nice. That's another quality of Mercury. Mercury has this quality of improving every rashi, every you know, house it's joined. So Mercury can always, you know, find a solution. And also with foods, so when it's joining another aroma, a matching aroma, it's gonna be even nicer. So naturally this umami taste occurs in mushrooms, it occurs in tomatoes, it occurs in, let's see, I wrote here, in soy sauce, some fermented foods. Of course, it would also occur in meat broth as well. And it's interesting that the umami taste also is present in the breast milk. And this also shows the connection between Mercury and its parent, the moon, because Mercury is the son of the moon. So that's very interesting that in breast milk, and milk is always connected to the moon, you have this umami taste. Okay, let's see what else we have. Then we have Jupiter. And Jupiter, of course, is associated to the sweet taste. Jupiter in general is associated with joy. It's the joy of wisdom, the joy of understanding. It's also, a manifesting planet like Mercury. It's also the giver of children. Children, the karaka for children, the main one is Jupiter. So, Jupiter is associated to this sweet feeling, and of course it's associated to the sweet taste as well. And I was mentioning earlier that at some point Parashara also associates these planets with different types of trees or plants, and of course Jupiter is associated to fruit bearing plants. Yes, so sweet taste is felt when our taste buds are stimulated by glucose, fructose or sucrose. And sweetness is of course a healthy compound that naturally occurs in fruit or sugar cane, and you can also have it artificially in isolated sugar or aspartame or saccharin. And the consumption of naturally occurring sugar helps strengthen the endocrine system, which is ruled by Jupiter. But of course, refined sugar is not so auspicious for the endocrine system. It's interesting that Jupiter is also the Brahmin Graha, the counselor. It always it's also associated to eloquent speech and sweet speech, although it's not the giver of speech, because Mercury is consciousness spoken, but Jupiter is associated to the vocal cords. So there's always, a sweetness, a comforting of that, the wisdom of Jupiter, a Brahmin planet, a very tolerant and understanding and seeing the big picture planet would have. So I think that's very interesting. And then we have Venus, and Venus is the other Brahmin planet like Jupiter. They were both born from rishis, the only grahas that were born from rishis or saints. And the difference between them is that although they are both Brahmin planets, they are both very devotional. Jupiter talks less. Is more focused on mantra, while Venus is more focused on giving practical advice. So Venus is associated to the sour taste, and sour taste is, it's produced, is felt when certain acids reach our taste buds. So the healthy sour taste is felt when we eat ripe citrus fruit, when we eat some fermented foods, and that really helps with the digestion, because Venus rules digestion, the process of digestion. And it's interesting because Venus is a practical graha of the world, is also devotional. So like the sour taste is pretty cut to the chase, practical. So I think it's very interesting how it's associated to Venus. And then we have the last but not least, Saturn, which is associated to the astringent taste. And it's interesting because mythologically Saturn is the son of the sun, but they are enemies. Like if we learn the planetary friendships, that Sun and Saturn, although they are related, they are enemies to one another. So Saturn, like its father, the Sun, rules a taste that is not actually a taste, because the Sun rules the pungent taste, which is actually the sensation of heat. like when we eat like raw onions or garlics and things like that. And Saturn rules the astringent taste, which is like a sensation of more coolness and of constriction, because Saturn is always constricting. It always feels like it narrows the perspective, it limits the bhava, the house, the planet it joins. So of course it would make sense that it rules the astringent, constricting taste. So in medicine, astringent lotions are used for cooling the skin and for tightening the skin, like after insect bites or something like that. And naturally, the astringent taste occurs in unripe fruit, because it's like a warning sign for any predator, for any bird or human or animal, not to eat them. So unripe fruit are very rich in tannins, which cause this astringent sensation. So Saturn is like, we can understand this quality of Saturn, like, don't eat me until I'm ripe. And there are of course some ripe fruit that have this astringent quality, and they are raspberries, we have aronia, we have aloe, we have some blackthorn like herbs, we have comfrey, we have raspberry leaves. If women are pregnant, they are advised to drink raspberry leaves tea like 3 months, even before they give birth, because it would help with the muscular contractions during childbirth. And it's interesting because Saturn also rules the muscular system. So I think that's really fascinating to understand the nature of the grahas by seeing what tastes they are associated with. Okay, so I'll see you guys again soon. I'm gonna be making more videos on astrology, on the cards of truth. Yes, and I'll be doing a live. Just make sure you're subscribed, you turn the notifications on so you see when I'm doing live Q&A sessions. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It would help me learn that you like this type of videos and you would like to see more like it. And don't forget to subscribe. Check out my website, yourstars-align.com, the reading section, the classes sections, the blog sections, everything. Okay, see you soon. Bye.